This is CBC Here and Now.
Who could rest on that?
Tonight, possibly the worst kept secret in provincial politics. You're looking live at Surgeon Andrew Furey and his headquarters where he's launching his Liberal leadership campaign.
List off problems.
The long gun was mine. I was the owner of it. It was my responsibility to take care of it.
The minister in charge of wildlife and conservation apologizes for breaking hunting laws as the opposition calls for his resignation.
One of the areas that it really changed was the boundaries of the various municipalities around it.
And some of the mayors on the Northeast Avalon have a coffee and talk about lessons learned during January's big storm. Carolyn has the talk. It's all about sharing resources and the dreaded A word, amalgamation. Well, good evening. The minister responsible for wildlife protection says he's sorry for breaking one of his department's own hunting laws. This after a Here and Now story about a modified shotgun that Jerry Byrne used on a hunting trip 2 years ago. Byrne told the House of Assembly he has many flaws, but knowing when to say sorry is not one of them.
I did receive a ticket for an offence under the wildlife regulations, a ticketed offence, a summary offence, for not having a plug in a lawful long gun. That was an error of omission. There was no ill intent on my part. However, that does not excuse the action because it's my responsibility to ensure that that long gun is properly secured and within regulation, and I do apologize to this House.
Now, in October of 2017, an enforcement officer fined Byrne for hunting with an unplugged shotgun. That kind of weapon can allow for more than 3 shells to be fired at animals, and that's against the regulations. Both the PCs and NDP are calling on the Premier to fire Byrne, but Byrne says given his position as a minister, he felt obligated to tell the Premier about the fine.
He did mention it to me, and so the fine was paid, and as far as he was concerned at the time, is that his responsibility he accepted the responsibility for his actions and paid the appropriate fine.
Well, somebody who wants to replace the man you just saw, there is Andrew Furey, who is launching his bid to be this province's next premier, and that's happening now at a hotel in downtown St. John's. We're going to take you there live, but first, Premier Dwight Ball echoing calls for an investigation into how Furey obtained Liberal members' email addresses. Furey's team used them on the weekend to email details of tonight's news conference to party supporters. The Liberal Party said yesterday that there was no unauthorized access to its list of members or supporters.
I would like to see the party put an investigation in place that around the emails that have been publicly sent around the province. I think this needs to be investigated. I think people in our province, they need answers, and I think the party, from what I gather, will be forthcoming in putting that investigative process in place.
All right, so let's go live to the Alt Hotel now, where Furey is obviously at the podium addressing his supporters as he makes his bid to be the Liberal leader and Premier of this province.
Is not terminal. We must take the right steps now and act immediately on our fiscal situation. But recovery, as always, means making some tough choices. And I tell you today that I'm ready to do exactly that. Because I see recovery, as in everything I do, as a group effort. I will seek the best advice from the top experts to deal with these issues. Under my watch, we will reinvent government. And this change will not just be generational, it will be transformational. We must be able to see beyond our issues if we're going to see our way out of this mess. And that, my friends, is the true essence of hope. You see, hope is a word I think a lot about, what it means to me, what others see in it. It's power, it's fragility. Hope is all those children, the next generation of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. It is innocent, it needs nurturing. It needs us to protect it, to celebrate it, and to help it grow. That one simple question is really why I'm here today, standing in front of all of you, asking for you to believe in me, to believe in us and what we can accomplish together. For me, I feel like everything in my life has been guiding me towards public service. I chose to become a doctor because I wanted to help the people of Newfoundland and Labrador in a very hands-on way. And from the many patients I've seen over the years, I've still never grown tired of helping Newfoundlanders and Labradorians literally get back on their feet again. It's been so incredibly rewarding. It's also a journey on which I met my wife, Allison, an accomplished doctor, and the mother of our 3 beautiful children, Maggie, Rachel, and Mark. It's also a journey on which I helped found Team Broken Earth, or as Allison likes to call it, our 4th child. Now, one of the most important lessons I've learned from being a doctor and running a national charity is to never surround yourself with those who just want to talk about what can't be done, and opt instead to be with those who are working to what will be done. Focusing on what cannot be done would have written off places like Haiti as a lost cause, too big a problem to overcome, too tangly and hopeless. But my friends, when you see a place as hopeless, you've grown blind to where hope lives in humanity. Seeking hope means believing in change. Yes, it may be slow, it may be person by person even, but it is there. My journey here today was also inspired by my family. I come from a long line of proud Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, and the Fury name has been in politics, law, and even in literature. But for me, I'm not one to run on someone else's steam. I've always done my own heavy lifting. I'm here because I love this province, and I will do everything I can to keep it moving forward, untethered by the past, and tacking hard towards a brighter future.
Ms. Andrew Fury giving a fairly substantial speech. We expect to be about 18 minutes long, and we are going to return to Andrew Fury's launch a bit later in the program. They're a kind of a difficult message. On the one hand, saying that he wants to make the tough decisions, but also offer hope, which is a difficult balancing act for any politician. But Andrew Fury, it's official. As we said, the worst-kept secret in politics. He is launching his bid to become the leader of the Liberal Party and the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador.
We've got a preview of what's happening across, or what's going to happen across the province tonight for eastern portions of the island. We're looking at rain-snow mix right now. That's going to change over to rain as we head through the next probably 20 to 25 minutes. And then we've got that warm air, thanks to that warm front, going to move in, and that's going to continue as we head through the day tomorrow. So the area of low pressure is just starting to get organized right now over Ontario. That's going to continue to move towards us as we head through the day. We've got rainfall warnings, wind warnings in place, and then a winter storm warning. And that's because the same system is going to bring some snow as we head overnight Wednesday into Thursday. I'll have all those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, there is another die-off of salmon at an aquaculture site on the south coast. This time, it's at Cook Aquaculture's cold ocean salmon operation in the Bay d'Espoir area. The provincial government says 77,000 fish died in a total of 2 cages. Cook Aquaculture blames the cold weather over the last month, with wind and ice combined. The company says its response plan includes cleaning up the dead fish, harvesting the 2 impacted cages, and selectively harvesting fish from the other 6 cages. And it says the fish have not tested positive for reportable diseases. Last fall, more than 2.5 million farm salmon belonging to Northern Harvest Sea Farms died because of warmer than normal temperatures. Police have made more arrests and laid additional charges as part of Project Blowfish. That's a criminal investigation targeting drugs and crime proceeds from British Columbia all the way to Newfoundland and Labrador. Police laid out the latest seized items today and confirmed new charges against 2 women from British Columbia and a man from this province. The charges include distribution of illegal cannabis as well as money laundering. They searched a home and a hotel in St. John's where police seized drugs, an SUV, and almost $80,000 in cash. Last May, police first announced the results of Project Blowfish and the arrest of 2 people, along with the seizure of 350 grams of crystal meth and 2 loaded shotguns. Back then, a 21-year-old and a 25-year-old from this province were charged. That 25-year-old now faces a second round of charges.
Well, whenever you're dealing with large quantities of drugs such as this, organized crime is always involved, and you know, whenever there's a demand, The criminal element will always be there to take advantage, to try to turn a profit. The mandate of the federal serious and organized crime is the disruption of interprovincial drug trafficking, and Operation Blowfish, which is what this investigation was called, is an example of that.
Well, the highest-ranking police officer in Bay Roberts is expected to plead guilty to obstructing justice. Sergeant Brent Hillier is accused of allowing his son to leave the scene of a suspected impaired driving crash in Upper Island Cove back in June of 2019. Witnesses say the son appeared to be impaired. His father was the first police officer to respond, and according to the agreed statement of facts, Hillier told his son to go home. He also left, changed out of his uniform, and then went back to the scene and tried to work out a deal with the homeowner. Police didn't investigate the son until the next day, and that meant he couldn't be charged with impaired driving. That's obstruction of justice. That's where that charge comes from. In court today, Hillier's lawyer says the father will be pleading guilty. Well, Cowan joins me now. Tonight she's bringing us The Talk, and you're about to launch into a special series, one that came about after that blustery weather we had in January, that big storm.
Massive storm in January. We're going to be looking at the idea of cooperation, sharing, and governance between municipalities. There was not only the mess of snow on the streets of the Northeast Avalon, but also the mess of confusion that followed when neighboring municipalities implemented mismatched states of emergency. Many of the communities bump up against each other, and the storm had some people asking, is there room for more municipal cooperation? Some are even raising the controversial question of amalgamation. So we invited some mayors in the region for coffee to hash it out. St. John's Mayor Danny Breen, Mount Pearl Mayor Dave Aker, Paradise Mayor Dan Bobbitt, and the mayor of a smaller community, Torbay Mayor Craig Scott. Now tonight on part one of our conversation, we talk about what worked and what could have been done differently during those various states of emergency.
I think, Carolyn, if you look at a state of emergency, the last time the state of emergency was used in St. John's was in 1985. St. John's has changed a lot. One of the areas that have really changed was the boundaries of the various municipalities around it. Back in 1985, it was a longer trip to get from St. John's to Mount Pearl or to Paradise or to Torbay. But today, our boundaries are touching. And so people move very freely through those boundaries. Upwards of 70% of the people that live in the neighboring communities around St. John's work in St. John's. So those boundaries people don't recognize. They see as being able to leave Paradise to go through Mount Pearl to get to work in St. John's or some variation of that. So that was a big challenge.
We reached a point where we felt we could lift it partially. We were hearing from our residents about the need to get food and some necessities, but also to go over to their parents' house, go over to the neighbor's house. They had to drive to get there. They had to get out and help them shovel out, right? So we had to relax it a little bit. One of the lessons I think we should learn as a region is that maybe a bit more planning has to go into thinking about contingencies just in case when you declare a state of emergency, people are stocked up, because we even had the issue with one of our cruise ships that we're on. We declared a state of emergency around noon, and all the mayors and all the region coordinated that. But once we did that, all the grocery stores closed, and we actually had a shift on that couldn't get any meals. So we need to start thinking a little bit about, yes, we have a weather forecast, but what happens if it's 10, 20, 30% higher?
At times, obviously in all of our communications, we were saying that only essential workers were to get out and travel because there was required. Essential workers were required at the various locations, at the hospitals and whatever. So our messaging was clear there, and it was up to people to respect that.
It comes back a lot to your capacity. It's impossible for the city of St. John's to have the capacity to clear that much snow as quickly as we can in Torbay. So part of that messaging that we put out was that, yes, you can go here, you can go there. And it was very easy for us because we have one grocery store, 2 gas stations, 1 drugstore. We're not dealing with hundreds and hundreds of businesses. The message that we were putting out was our state of emergency is going to be lifted between 6 a.m. in the morning and 9 p.m. at night. However, the city of St. John's is still under state of emergency. There is nowhere to go. Don't go that way. And there's no reason to go out there and add to the confusion that that they're going through.
But things were made more complicated for you because surrounding areas partially lifted the state of emergency. Would it be better if it was a blanket decision that if there is a state of emergency in place, then it applies to all?
In all fairness, though, I mean, when you look, as Craig pointed out, if you look at what each of the municipalities were dealing with, then once their municipalities became clear and they've been able to move around in them, there was pressure from their public that they will be able to move within their municipality. So it will be very difficult to go in and say, you can't do that. And we couldn't open up the streets for the extra traffic as well that was expected to come from those municipalities to come in to go to work and be able to maintain the safety for the residents of the city. It wasn't only because of the extra cars on the roads that weren't ready for them, it was the heavy equipment that we had moving around there. And even the thought of having children going to school with those snow blowers and everything else operating, our decision became very clear that we need more time to get this to a point where we can reopen and then be able to be that center for people coming in from other municipalities.
Well, we have to, as a region, perhaps look at some of the logistical considerations because, for example, we were opening our businesses from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. Our city was open basically for people to get their necessities and the like. But many, for example, of the distributors in Donovan's distribute to St. John's. So they couldn't leave and go out to St. John's to the grocery store until 10 o'clock. But by that time, there was huge lineups, right, to get into the grocery stores. So perhaps that's a lesson learned there, a little bit more coordination to make sure logistically we can get the food to the grocery stores before the customers show up and the like, right?
I think it goes back to whatever the circumstance is. At this point in time, it was a snow clearing, snow removal issue that we were facing. The next time there's a state of emergency, it could be something different. It could be floods or whatever. We were very lucky this time. I know some people wouldn't think that, but we were lucky. It was just mainly snow clearing and snow removal, whereas we didn't have large pockets of power outages and for long periods of time. So I think that people are pretty resilient, and through the whole course of this, it's difficult to say if you would need a big blanket state of emergency. Now we should have a plan for something like that, and if it needs to get implemented, that we can do it. But to just because St. John's is in a state of emergency, then Torbay, Flatrock, Pouch Grove, and all those, Paradise, everybody has to be. It's hard to follow.
One of the things that I think we really need to do is we really need to look at the state of emergency provision itself and see how we can be more responsive to the current day Greater St. John's area, which I think is the goal as we go through that exercise.
Well, interesting civilized discussion.
Yeah, a few lessons learned there from the state of emergency.
Yeah, and obviously whenever you see this sort of talk about municipal cooperation, all that, a big issue for a lot of people no matter where you live. And that part tonight was just part of it, right?
That's just part of it, yeah. We talked about a lot, but tomorrow we're going to get into the more nitty-gritty stuff about the future and, of course, the dreaded A word, amalgamation. We have to talk about that. So, do they believe that in the future all of the municipalities will one day come together to be one? So that's a question we ask, and they have some different thoughts on that.
It's almost as if they've taken amalgamation and then it's regionalization.
Yeah, there are all
so is the R word the
kinds
new
of
A word?
words. Yeah, regional cooperation, and so there's lots to talk about still.
All right, we'll hear their thoughts tomorrow.
Thanks.
Red Sky at Night Sailor's Delight, it's not just folklore, it's fact.
All right, well, let's head back now to the Alt Hotel in St. John's, where Andrew Furey is launching his bid to become the next premier. Furey about to field questions from reporters. Our Peter Cowan is there, so let's listen in to see what Dr. Furey has to say.
So, Mr. Furey, you've got a lucrative career as an orthopedic surgeon. Arguably, those are harder to find than candidates for premier. Why did you decide to run?
Well, it's fairly simple. I want to make a difference. I know the province is facing some tough times right now, and I want to make a difference now. I mean, I think it's important for people to step up with different career paths, and I think I have something to offer. And frankly, I need to be able to look my children and my children's children in the eye and tell them that I did everything I could during these tough times for Newfoundland and Labrador, and I hope that inspires others to step up as well.
In your speech, we saw a lot of talk about hope, but not a lot of specific policies or things you'd want to change as premier. Why not bring in some of those specifics to give people an idea of what you do and how you'd be different from, for example, Dwight Powell?
Yeah, I look forward to discussing my ideas and policies over the next month as this leadership campaign rolls out. Today was more about the announcement. The policies will come and people will know exactly where I stand on issues.
One of the issues that has come up already was the email announcing this event, and we've seen some former Liberal members, for example, upset that your campaign got their email address. Where did those email addresses come from?
First of all, I apologize if anyone got an email invite to today by mistake or if it was unwanted. But really what happened was when I discussed with my team, there was a great deal of excitement, and they dipped into their contact lists and sent out an email. So I apologize if someone got it, but that's how it happened.
But does this mean people on your campaign have access and saved copies of the past Liberal?
There's been no data breach here. No, certainly not. No.
Premier Dwight Powell says he supports the Liberal Party doing an investigation into this. What do you think of that?
As do I. I mean, the party's already looked at this, and they've said that there's been no data breach, but I'm happy to help them in any way, shape, or form. I want a fair race. I don't want to have someone with their foot on the scales for me in any way, shape, or form.
You come from a political family, but you've never been elected to office before. You're coming into a very difficult situation with no prior political experience. So how do you feel, why do you believe you can tackle those problems?
Well, I think that I bring a different skill set, or a skill set that can tackle those problems. Been very fortunate in my career to have a diverse career path, frankly. That involves either being a doctor or going to business school or being a surgeon or starting 2 national charities. And frankly, what I've learned from those ventures is the power of teamwork and engaging people in an empowered team to navigate complex situations. And I think that that's a skill that I bring that's transferable to the office of Premier, or frankly transformational, hopefully, to the way we govern and the way we look at politics in Newfoundland and Labrador.
You said that you weren't going to be afraid to make some tough decisions. Can you give me an idea of what some of the tough decisions that we may have to make as a province?
Well, I think everyone realizes the budget crunch that we're under. My top priority is going to be to get in there and get fully up to speed on the fiscal situation of the province, get a better understanding of the economic pressures, upward or downward, and the levers that have been investigated, pulled, not pulled, and then make the best evidence-based decision for the citizens of the province.
That's Andrew Furey answering questions from reporters. Of course, we'll have more coverage of his launch. You can check us out, cbc.ca/NL. And of course, tune into your local morning show and radio news tomorrow morning for more on this. And the race is on.
We've all heard it. Red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky at morning, sailor take warning. But did you know that there's actually science to back it up? There are a few things happening here. First, our weather systems generally move west to east. And those beautiful colors we see in the sky, they happen because millions of tiny particles in the atmosphere, like dust, help scatter the light. If we shine light through a prism, you'll see a slew of different colors. Different colors have different wavelengths. Blue is the shortest wavelength, and that's why the sky is blue. Red has the longest. Remember what I said about weather systems moving west to east? If there are clouds in the west and clear skies to the east, a rising sun will illuminate those clouds. Now, at this point, the sun is low on the horizon. Its rays have further to travel, so we see red. And those red skies in the morning warn us that weather is on the way. In the evening, it's opposite. Our red sky means that the west is clear and the clouds in the east are moving out over the ocean. This usually means that high pressure is approaching, teeing up a beautiful day. See, red sky at night, sailors delight. It's not just folklore, it's fact.
I was trying to keep up with you there. Yes, that's fascinating. But I, you know, when I was younger, I could actually retain it all. Now I got to take notes. But that's really good.
Yeah.
I do more of those.
I know. Always thought, everybody talks about how the red sky at morning, sailor take warning, red sky at night, sailor delight.
Yeah, it's just a saying.
It's just a saying, but no, it actually has some science to back it up.
Yes,
so figured
cool.
Share it all with you.
Excellent. Love that. And I learned something.
There you go.
As
Perfect.
did you.
Hopefully, yeah.
So am I going to learn something happy about? No, it's going to be, go ahead. Sorry, I was in a good mood after the science lesson. Now, reality.
It's actually not going to be that bad tomorrow. I mean, we are looking at warmer temperatures moving in, which means we could see a lot. We're going to see some rain as well. But let's just jump right into the forecast because we do have a lot to talk about tonight. Sitting already above zero, so 1 degree in St. John's, 2 degrees through Corner Brook, and then we've got those mild temperatures up through Labrador as well. So 0 degrees for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Lab City. You're currently sitting at -4. So here's a look at the current satellite and radar. We saw that snow change over to rain already for the Avalon. That will continue as we head through the overnight tonight. As a little bit of a disturbance will move through. We could also see the potential for a few showers or drizzle along the south coast. That will be flurries potentially along the west, and then pretty quiet up through Labrador really for the most part. Maybe the chance of a few flurries in Lab West. Other than that, not a whole lot happening for now. Your temperatures will dip though into central. We're looking at minus double digits again. Grand Falls, Windsor, -4 for Corner Brook. So we will see the temperatures dipping. Going to hover around the 0 degree mark for Port aux Basques, but winds will stay generally light. And then out of the west for the eastern portion of the island. So you're looking at 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, but eventually those winds will ease as we head towards the morning hours. But again, looking at some showers or drizzle through the night as that temperature hovers around the 1 degree mark. Going to drop quite dramatically tonight for Lab City down to -19, -11 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and there's that potential for some flurries I was talking about. So as we head through the day tomorrow, the meat and potatoes of the storm really start to move in. So we're going to see rain and heavy at times along the south coast. Your winds are going to pick up as well. And along pretty much through central, anywhere really along the northeast, we could see this start off as some freezing drizzle just because the temperatures will be hovering around there, but they are going to jump up quite dramatically through the afternoon. Best chance of seeing some extended periods of freezing rain will be around Green Bay, White Bay, and then the northern peninsula as well. But again, those temperatures are going to climb up well above zero tomorrow. We are looking at periods of rain through the day. And if you can get out tonight at some point and maybe in the first half of tomorrow, you might want to try and clean your storm drains because of that snow that we just got in the east for the last couple of days. So wind warnings in place along the west and south coast. We're looking at Wreck House area seeing 100 to 120 kilometer per hour gusts. Otherwise, they'll be out of the south and generally anywhere between 80 to 110 kilometers per hour. Otherwise, that is a special weather statement for the rest of the island. And then because of the heavy rain that you saw in that future tracker, rainfall warnings are in place from Port aux Basques through to the Canagar Peninsula. And with this, we could see as much as 20 to 30, maybe even 40 millimeters of rain in areas along the south coast. Burin Peninsula, you're looking at 20 to 30 as well. Same with the southern Avalon, maybe as much as 40 millimeters. But in the metro area, probably close to anywhere from 5 to as much as 15 millimeters as possible, but heavy at times with all that snow. We could see, and it's already pretty wet, we could see some areas where we see some localized flooding. So certainly keep that in mind tomorrow. There's your temperatures again, feeling very spring-like, 6, 7, 8 degrees through the day. Those winds will be generally strong out of the south, 50 to 70 kilometers per hour. And then again, along the south and west coast, you're going to switch from easterlies to southerlies and then pick up through the day. Up through Labrador, mild tomorrow with the flurries moving in late day for the most of you. -1 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Nain. You're going to sit around -6. So as that system continues to track a little bit further north, we're going to push that snow into southeastern portions of Labrador in the evening, spread towards central as well. And then look at that, the rain will change to snow along the south and west coast. So we already have some winter storm warnings in place for you. Winter storm watch up through Labrador. So it is a lot. I will talk about how much snow is on the way and when to expect it when I come back in a little bit. Anthony?
Thanks, Ashley. Well, getting back to the House of Assembly, where Jerry Byrne, the minister responsible for the province's Wildlife Act, apologized today for contravening a hunting law in the Wildlife Act. You may recall back in the fall, Byrne accused Tory MHA Jim Lester of being in favor of poaching. Well, Byrne later apologized for that accusation. No surprise that today, following Byrne's latest apology, Lester wanted to weigh in.
Mr. Speaker, we've gotten calls this morning from individuals with identical convictions and whose gun and property was seized. I asked the minister, did you ask for any leniency given your role? And are you, the minister, receiving one type of justice while the ordinary citizen receives another?
The Honourable the Minister of Fisheries and Land Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I can't speak to two different circumstances, but what I can say is that there was no leniency that was requested, nor none granted. There was one offence. It was a ticketed offence. It resulted in the levy of a fine, and it was paid.
The minister received a fine of less than $100, whereas the maximum fine would be $500. I would think that someone of his stature, to take this seriously, would be excluded a higher level of fine. Mr. Speaker, what CBC reported yesterday and what the OCM also reported the same day are two very different stories. Could the minister explain what is actually the truth?
It is a difficult challenge for someone to rebut the notion that there was a leniency that was offered. What I can tell you is that it's not abundantly clear to me that the officer in question actually knew my identity.
What I'm asking for is the truth, and that is something that apparently he doesn't understand. We are asking for the details of the situation. There's two stories floating in the public. Please clarify for this House and the people of the province.
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Land Resources.
Mr. Speaker, it's very difficult to rebut what I have said. The member opposite doesn't provide much clarity as to exactly the ambiguities that he questions. So for the sake of the record, what I will provide you and the House, as I've done before, is the instance in which I indicated that during the course of a rather routine hunter safety or compliance check, it was discovered that there was one single offense that could be observed, that was observed, and it was ticketed accordingly under regulation, and fine was paid.
Back to another story that we had earlier, an update on Project Blowfish, the largest seizure of crystal meth in the province's history. More arrests have been made, with police recently seizing illegal cannabis as well as a cocaine cutting agent from a home and hotel in St. John's. But you're asking, just what is a cutting agent? Well, here's how the police put it.
What I mean by cocaine cutting agent, when cocaine enters the country from South America, it's usually at a very high purity, so it could be as high as 90%. But by the time it gets to the user on the streets of Newfoundland and Labrador, it's usually down to about 15%. So what happens with each level of trafficker that the drugs pass through, they will cut the cocaine. So when I say cut cocaine, I mean that they will break it down and mix in a powder, a cutting agent, or sometimes we refer to it as an adulterant. So what they do, the reason they do that is basically to make more product. And You know, they use all kinds of different substances as cutting agents. One of the substances we regularly see here in this province is levamisole, which is a chemical used to treat worm infestations in farm animals, and it's dangerous, can cause problems with people's nose, and that's just one of a whole host of chemicals that cocaine traffickers cut their cocaine with. So, you know, the thing about cocaine, it's not made by a pharmaceutical company, so you don't have those checks and balances in place. They're made in clandestine laboratories by criminals.
Well, some important news now for a key industry in our province. CBC learning that a major seafood show popular with many companies in Newfoundland and Labrador has been cancelled. Seafood Expo North America, also known as the Boston Seafood Show, set for later this month, that's been postponed due to growing concerns over the coronavirus. The organizer says it was an incredibly difficult decision. This is a major event in the industry, and they hope to be able to reschedule it later in the year.
First, the camera uses computer vision to identify an object, like a circuit board or a human face. Then, it uses augmented reality to map an image onto that object and move it around.
Right, so we know Zach's not going to age very well. Filters 101 with Professor Zach Gowdy. Just ahead, meet a pair who chose St. John's to kickstart their booming tech business. Welcome back. Well, in the U.S., at least 22 people are dead and entire subdivisions destroyed. A series of storms and at least one tornado ripped through Tennessee overnight. And we'll try to get back to that weather story a little bit later on Here and Now. My apologies for that. We'll get to that as soon as we can get that there for you. Right now, we do have a story that Zach Gowdy's been working on that I mentioned before the break. It's an incredible story about a company that has connections with Elon Musk, and they are starting to join a long list of companies that could do their business anywhere they want, but Inspectar decided to do their job here in St. John's. Here's Zach's story.
Imagine you're repairing a circuit board. There's 100 tiny parts needing precise adjustments. You have to comb through a 1,000-page reference manual just to see which parts are which and how they all connect. Or at least, you used to.
Well, with Inspectar, it's much simpler. You can just mouse over the part, click, and then we'll give you an overlay representing it right away. And if you're looking for something really small like a pin, we'll highlight it in real time. We can show you what circuits are connected to this chip right here. And there's a ton of really complicated information here that people are now saved having to go look up because it's right at their fingertips.
This is happening in real time?
It's happening in real time, right below my fingertips.
It's a brilliant idea, the kind that could take you anywhere. Inspectar just landed a huge investment from a backer in Silicon Valley, but these guys are building their big idea in St. John's, a city they may soon be calling Silicon Harbor.
So the total number is 850,000 Canadian, and so that'll just go to help us build the product here in Newfoundland.
And grow the team. Yeah, we're really looking forward to growing the team here. You know, before this, it was just like the 5 of us. So now we have like 2 interns last month, and now we just got our full-time hire starting now, probably later this week.
Yeah. Liam Cadigan and Daryl Day were childhood friends in Mount Pearl, then classmates at Memorial University. While earning degrees in electrical engineering, they got a taste of the tech big time. Remember the SpaceX Hyperloop competition sponsored by billionaire Elon Musk? Cadigan, Day, and co-founder Nick Warren were part of a team from Newfoundland and Labrador that came second place.
And so out of that, we got a really cool internship in San Francisco at a company called Neuralink, and that was awesome. So we went there, we worked on a lot of electronics, and so that's how we kind of saw this problem.
The problem was circuit boards. Not long ago, circuit boards were only used in a narrow range of products, computers and TVs. Now, they're in everything.
These days, an electronics product could be your toothbrush. There's dozens of them in your car. Smartphone, computers are the obvious ones, but they're in a lot of different products, and especially as we start to get into more smart home technology, things like that, they're in all kinds of things in our home, like thermostats, light bulbs, everything.
But even though circuit boards have blown up in the digital age, the process for fixing them was stuck in the analog era.
Inspectar uses 2 key pieces of technology, computer vision and augmented reality. Now, many of us know these technologies well in the form of video filters, like on Snapchat or Instagram. First, the camera uses computer vision to identify an object, like a circuit board or a human face. Then, it uses augmented reality to map an image onto that object and move it around as the image moves. Now, clearly, you can have some fun with this, but Inspectar is applying these same ideas to the serious business of circuit boards.
We're able to use computer vision and then combine it with augmented reality to create this experience. So we use computer vision so that the computer knows what the camera's looking at, and it says, okay, it's a circuit board. And then our software is able to say, well, it's this circuit board specifically. And then we can start to overlay all the different circuits on top of it. And that is what you call augmented reality, is taking the circuit board out of just the real world and then augmenting it with the camera.
With their SpaceX connections, the Inspectar gang could have stayed in Silicon Valley. Instead, they're joining a rush of tech companies setting up shop in St. John's. And it's not because they're sentimental, it's a business decision.
The culture around here is really open arms. Like every time we went out to reach out to someone like, hey, can you help us or give us some feedback? Everyone was like, yes, why not? Come, let's meet up, get a coffee, and we'll talk about it. Like everyone was so nice here. I think that's another thing you don't get, say, for example, in the Bay Area, is that there's like such a tight-knit community here. It's so easy just to reach out for someone and get some mentorship and get some help.
And then the other big advantage of St. John's would be like a lower cost of living and cost of talent compared to the Bay Area, because I mean, we looked at it, and even versus Toronto, I mean, your cost of living and cost of talent is probably like 5 times higher out there. So that's a huge advantage to us.
The strategic advantages of low costs and a highly supportive community are becoming the hallmarks of Silicon Harbor. A whole generation of entrepreneurs, engineers, and inventors are betting that they can build something here. They have the vision. Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
The weather update is brought to you by Belltone, your partner in better hearing.
I encourage all of you to pray for the families across our state that are facing tragedy right now.
As I mentioned earlier, at least 22 people are dead, and look at that, entire subdivisions destroyed, a series of storms, and at least one tornado ripped through Tennessee overnight. And in Nashville, the country music capital, dozens of buildings damaged, and more than 150 people were rushed to hospital.
A tornado warning gave residents just about 6 minutes to prepare before the twister touchdown, and their tornado season peaks in March and usually extends through May.
It's incredible to actually see the extent of the damage, and then some places
Nothing. And it gets so close to downtown Tennessee or downtown Nashville is it's crazy.
It's quite something. Tornadoes.
It is quite something. Tornadoes are incredible.
I know that meteorologists sometimes chase them. I'm happy to.
I'm also happy to never chase them. I'm not into that.
Powerful, no?
Yeah, it's no. I was afraid of them as a kid.
Just take a look,
so, yeah.
right? Why would you want to get close to that?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so much tamer weather to deal with here.
Yeah, just different weather, I suppose.
So.
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
Yeah, so we're looking at that system that's going to move through is going to change over to snow for areas along the west and south coast, and actually in through Labrador, Happy Valley Goose Bay. You're actually going to see your totals that were record low for both January and February. You're going to double that basically with this one, it looks like. So there's that area of low pressure overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning. So you can see all of that rain has changed to snow. We still have those strong winds right along with it, but we are going to see that snow pretty much extend right through central Labrador and then continue along the west and south coast, certainly into the afternoon and evening hours on Thursday as we get back into that northerly flow, onshore flow, with the flurries pretty much continuing through Friday as well. So those winter storm warnings, that's why they're in effect right now. But again, it will be for tomorrow night into Thursday, pretty much from Gros Morne down through Port aux Basques, as well as Burgeo. You're included in that. And then southeastern portion of Labrador. And then right now, their winter storm watches through Happy Valley Goose Bay, but I'm anticipating that that will change over to a warning as we head into tomorrow afternoon. It's just a little bit too early for that. So here's what the models are pointing at snowfall-wise. Good bet we'll see somewhere between 15 to 25 centimeters of snow along the coast, west coast, and then potentially the south coast as well. And those higher elevations, you might pick up a little bit more than that. And then certainly through southeastern portions of Labrador, again, 20 to as much as 30 centimeters of snow, and then that's why you're going to potentially see your totals double in Happy Valley Goose Bay, which is good news because you haven't really seen a ton of snow so far this season. But again, those winds will be pretty strong, so you're going to see some snow and blowing snow through the day. Temperatures will be back down below zero along the west and south coast. We're going to hang on to the potential for some showers and or flurries through the day as those temperatures hover around the 1 or 2 degree range as we head towards eastern portions of the island. -1 for Happy Valley Goose Bay. Lab City, you're still in those double digits. You're going to pick up about 5 centimeters from this one, not a whole lot for you. And then just flurries up through Nain as well, sitting around -6. Once that low moves off, those winds will eventually ease into Friday afternoon, but we're going to stay unsettled for the most part. Then the next one rolls in. This one could be significant snowfall for central, even areas along the Avalon as well. Certainly something to keep in mind if you do have any plans, travel plans this weekend with some winds. We'll definitely get into those details. It's way too early right now to throw out any numbers, but definitely going to keep that in mind for the weekend. And then into Sunday, things will generally clear out, but you're going to hang on to the potential for some flurries up through Labrador. So just taking a look at the next 5 days, there's where we're sitting. We could even see some freezing rain for Saturday for areas on the Avalon. -1 will be the afternoon high, but then you'll see those temperatures hover around the 0 degree mark into Sunday. And then eventually those temperatures will drop below 0 for Sunday night. For central Newfoundland, maybe a few peaks of sun for Friday. Otherwise, generally gray and snowy Saturday for sure, and even into Sunday you're looking at temperatures hovering around -1. For western Newfoundland, generally gray for the next 5 days, temperatures below 0 as we head into the weekend, and up through Labrador pretty much the same thing with your sunshine moving in for both Saturday and Sunday. The weekend looks nice as of now, and then we've got western Labrador looking at temperatures in the minus double digits, overnight lows back down to the -25 to -30 by the weekend. There's another explanation I could do maybe one day.
Is this one of those sun dogs you talk about?
Well, it's a halo. The sundog has to see two things on the side there, but yeah, this is a halo.
So no, Anthony, you're wrong.
I'll tell you where this is too when we come back.
Okay, welcome back to the Brawweiler Science Hour.
It's a lot of science tonight.
So let's take a look. This is not a sundog, as I learned before the break.
It's not. No, it's a halo. A sundog is part of a halo, but this is just a sun halo at this point. Yeah, so those are high cirrus clouds, and that's what's happening is the sun's rays are refracting through there. So it was taken Northern Peninsula.
River Ponds.
River Ponds.
Great spot.
It is a great spot.
There it is. It looks like the eye of the universe is staring at me.
I love sun halos. And there are moon halos too. Have you ever seen those before?
Well, let's not blow all the science in one night, Ashley. Come on. Halos and particles and sundogs and sun frogs. Yeah, we'll save that for some other time.
Okay, we will. Well, thank you so much to Lillian for sending that photo in. We like them so much. And if you want to send any in, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Thank you very much for spending your evening with us. A busy night tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Good night.